about that uses the math and calculations, which, by the way, if we ended up, let's just go to let's just pull up one of the banks in New Zealand. What's the interest rates that people are getting paid right now for US dollars? Let's say Bank of America, that organization that we just talked about. How much do people actually make in the bank within that? Look at this. You got literally, you can actually get paid. Let's see, I want to private. This ecosystem uses its own currency with its own exchange, and people say, well, the exchange rate is doctored, or the percentage that you can actually get in a bank is different than these other financial institutions. What most people don't understand is the International Monetary Fund basically just suffocates the ability for buyers and sellers of the current currency to actually transact. It's not more complicated than that. That fluctuates who can buy, who can sell, and so the fair market value can be controlled based upon who's actually in that. So the World Bank, in any of these different developing countries, so when I talk about developing countries, a lot of these countries are involved with the IMF and they're involved with the World Bank. And when you understand the World Bank, we're really talking about the Reserve Bank for the US dollar. It's all one system. And so if you just build a system that does equal things to it, lending, insurance, asset management, business management, identity management, land management. So for instance, some of the things around land management is absolutely amazing. So imagine if we actually really got into a business where not only is it land, but it's actually vehicles. And it's not just vehicles that you can drive from point A to point B, but it's a vehicle that you can actually live from. People talk about this tiny house movement. People talk about one of these headlines this last week, and maybe people can tell about this, but big city mayor asks white houses for helps for migrant influx. Now, I want to take the racist stuff out of that, but you can kind of understand, they're starting to understand that 10 million people illegally moving over the border and just shipped into different parts is causing a problem, a housing problem. Here in Hawaii, that's not the same reality. You're not seeing the same types of influx of border crossings from Mexico type ecosystem. But for a long time, you've seen these cities throw certain people on planes and just.
You are though.
Yeah, but they literally just ship. It's not new. You've been seeing.
No. So in Hawaii, they've been doing it for decades.
Exactly.
I had a friend who worked in all the restaurants in Hawaii have a lot of migrants that are not illegal. I had one that I knew he was going back and forth all the time, and he was a top chef in a restaurant in Lahaina, and I found out that he was actually illegal, but you could get your ID so easily in California, it was ridiculous. And he would go back and forth to Mexico all the time. He finally made enough money out of Lahaina that he built a house in Mexico and for his family, and he moved back. So they do it all the time.
Well, what I was trying to say was the 10 million folks, it's not like it's impacting Hawaii any more than what's already happened. Everyone, so people that have, whether it's homelessness or drug issues or other things, cities will give them the one-way flight, and they're just done. They're out. But that's not happening to the same level of the migrants coming to the mainland. So they're busing them into different cities. And then keep going with what you were talking about, Charles, because what's the next step? He got an ID, right? So in the state of Utah, even in the state of Hawaii, there's a step that you can go through that says to get an ID, what they call the real ID, which is mandated by May of next year, 2025. Do you have to have a social security number to get that ID? Do you have to be a citizen to get that ID? Do you have to, and then why do IDs expire? So the ID side of it, so for instance, have we ever heard of illegal immigrants driving a vehicle and killing somebody and then saying they didn't even have a driver's license? Why were they driving? There was issues with that decades ago, and so they started issuing driver's licenses to these illegal immigrants. Now, I'm going to be honest, if I was born in Venezuela and my family was there and the borders were open, I can almost guarantee that I would end up figuring out how to get my family all the way up into a country like America. Now, does America mean that it's this wonderful environment? No, but I can tell you from the perception, and I'm backing up like 20 years ago without knowledge. I'd probably just stay in Venezuela. But the point that I'm trying to drive at is I don't blame people for migrating. But what I do drive massive accountability is the people that are selected and not elected, that are in leadership roles, that are keeping the borders open, that are enabling people to come in by design so that the next voting catastrophe that happens will be a different voting catastrophe because the game is already up on the last one. If you don't believe me, what was it, 2,000 sheep or 2,000 mules? Go watch that. It's a very big eye opener. I mean, it just spells it out. Super, super transparent. And again, we don't need to worry about that type of noise. What we need to do is focus on the future and how we can actually add value within these different types of systems. So I'll stop blabbing. There's a lot of stuff that we've gone through. I hope that you're able to at least glean some of the updates. Any questions or topics that you want to discuss that I mainly haven't discussed so far?
Well, I have one.
Go ahead.
You seem to, obviously, you know about the sovereignty movement. You're a PMA. And you've hinted at that in many of the things that you've said, but you're not talking about individual sovereignty specifically and operating outside the entire legal system altogether.
That's exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about. So for instance, this individual here within this image here, his identity is his own, but yet he can register a vehicle, be licensed to drive the vehicle and drive the vehicle and all of the assets associated with it. Just like what I kind of showed you over here, the license plate, the registration. Note, if you dig into these, you'll find there's no full name for that individual or for the actual vehicle. So when you look at his license plate here, you can see, or his driver's license, you can see that his identity is sovereign. It's his own, and he's operating within a jurisdiction that is independent from the existing system. So when you talk about sovereign movement, that's spot on around what this is all about.
In one of those images you showed a minute ago, the person's name was spelled in all uppercase letters. That's a corporation.
That's just that you're talking about the design of it. I'm with you there. So
all right.
It should be, yeah. So you can see his name is not spelled in uppercase.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're talking about, but you know, it doesn't, we're saying the same thing. It's a matter of getting it built, developed, and implemented around adoption. You know, one of the individuals earlier talked about what is your goal and what are the clear companies focused on and what is the digital world's measurement, and it's all around adoption. So right now it's a matter of how do we get systems to massively adopt a better way, a way that actually gives identity back to the individual, which is the same thing you're talking about, whoever made that comment around sovereign nation, sovereign individual. So next topic, question, thought, comment, feedback.
Before we hang up, I want to connect with James somehow. I haven't been able to do that so far.
You can probably just message him on here, so he's here for you. It'll disappear.
Raymond, I think you've been chatting with Danielle, and she mentioned trying to get us on a three-way chat or something. So I don't know what's your best platform.
For openers, email. I haven't understood why we couldn't just talk on a phone call, but that hasn't worked.
Raymond, I don't think I've got your number though, so that's probably why that hasn't worked.
I'll give it to Danielle.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if you get it given to Danielle, she'll pass it on to me, and I'll connect with you. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
And Michael, just from me, since the start of the year, we've obviously had issues with the website and stuff. And I love all the talk around all this stuff. I always want to know what I can do to impact things. And the one thing that I've always thought is trying to grow the adoption of the phones. And obviously they've been excellent to me. Obviously, some people are a little less tech savvy, sometimes struggle to sort of get their heads around it sometimes and things like that. But ultimately, my 620 phone has worked brilliantly for over 3 years, and I'm very impressed with it. At the same time, I know that obviously it needs to move with the times, and we need to get better cameras, and we need to get even better hardware and all that kind of thing, because you know what it's like when phones move forward quickly with regards to things like that, and everybody wants their cake and eat it. So ultimately, are we still focused on trying to sell the phones and grow the affiliate model? Because it just feels like there's been less of a push toward that, and I'd love to still be able to push it out there, but the only way to do that is incentivize people and make it easy.
Yeah, let me level with you and help you to kind of understand what's happened. Remember when I said for the last almost 3 months there's been an attack? It's not just on businesses, but it's also been on the technology, and a lot of it just happens all at the same time. But we actually had an internal sabotage thing that occurred, which hit what's gorgeous is even with, all the level of impact. So it's not just data centers going down, servers going down, it's individuals internally trying to sabotage. And it wasn't anyone. We have 13 offices, and it was just one of the offices. But what's gorgeous about it is the decentralized systems, even with folks from the inside trying to kill it, couldn't take it down. What was impacted was the Clear United backend, which you saw. And so literally which is back up and all updated and running. So we didn't want to push any of the elements, so to speak. And so instead of, but we still wanted to have phones sold and service and all that. So literally we just said, hey, we won't pay commissions on them. We'll just drop the prices and then we'll push them out. But since the back end's back up, it's absolutely intended to, drive phone sales, increase prices, and get back out there. So what I would say is these prices are only going to be where they are for probably another 2 weeks, if that. And then there's going to be a price increase. Are we focused on building new units? The future models here are not going to be released because we've literally, when we look at, like, for instance, I think we're 35% adoption. Yeah, 35% adoption here. So that model,
about 57 on the 424, I think.
So we're 28% here. So we're not.
I think the 424 is about 57, 58%, I think. But
so
it's more like I wasn't aware there weren't going to be any rewards paid on the phone since the start of the year either, which will upset some people, to be fair. But
well, that's because some of the outage side of it. But there's still absolutely there's anything that someone is using a influencer key on, there's still rewards that should be paid. The audits are basically all done around historical stuff. And I would say people inside of your circles, they don't sell the subscriptions, which is where all the audits basically hit. There are a lot of the abuse. So there should be rewards
exactly. But I mean, because the validation codes weren't working, the referral codes weren't working properly and stuff. There's quite a few people that need to be sorted out on that front. But also, like, I just want to, it'd just be nice to get a really good steer on where we're going with the phones and what we're doing, because if we get another year down the line, we're going to have phones that are like 4 years old that, although I like this, all the software around the Clear decentralization stuff, the cameras are just not going to be so behind the times with regards to what else is out there. And I just know what modern public perception is like with regards to that, what people want and don't want, because I chat to people about them all the time. And that's my concern. That's where I want to be trying to help as much as I can and see where we're going.
Completely. So this is actually one of the new phones. And when we look at, here's another, and when we actually, you can see here, these cameras are they're advanced, and modern and up to spec, but we've just got to have future products that actually gets the adoption. Because right now, we could go about it from a different approach, and what we're all focused on is mass adoption. And so that doesn't mean, for instance, let's say that we were 100 times or 1,000 times more successful in launching the Clearphones. In my opinion, we still don't even hit a dent in the overall market of what the potential or need is. And I'll give you an example here real fast. So when we talk about market adoption, Android, there's 3.75 billion units in the world. This data is about 4 years old. Actually older than that. No, 2026. So this is 2000. So it's 4 years old. So 75% of the world is running an Android device, whereas 23% of the world is running an Apple device. Now, some people say, that's not true. All my friends have Apple devices. Yeah, because you're in a fluent ecosystem in America that a large percentage of them have it. But the point that I'm driving at is Clearphones are a very small percentage of it. And so what we've done is we've literally built out the technology so that it works on Android and it works on Apple. There's some features and functions that will be perfected on the Clearphones, such as, contacts. You won't have to scan anybody. You'll have your own contacts, your own decentralized storage around identity. These are all apps that are run within it. And, when you look at ClearOS.app, these are apps.
How are they going to allow that though? Like, how are we going to actually get that adopted? How are Apple going to allow Clear to run this on their system? And then also, how do Clear make their money?
So this is Apple running Hawaiian Life right off of Apple. So you can download it. These are different countries that will end up deploying their systems, if you will, that will then run their own currency. So this is basically one for one particular country. Now, the second part of your question is, how do we make money? In this case, there really isn't a money-making effort. This is trying to help humanity from a standpoint of gaining adoption of a system that can actually decentralize systems for humanity. The opportunity for influencers to drive awareness ties to, really the systems that are found over in this ecosystem today. We have to sell these phones that we currently have, and the goal is to be able to get these future product lines, these adoption numbers higher than the 35% and 50% and 28%. We got to get these higher so that we can then have these different models. The goal is to launch these in October, these future ones in October of this year. So, but, the camera technology within these units is more advanced, but come October, there's going to be another round of advancements that are out there. A lot of it is just software. It's not hardware advancements. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first things first, I really think that I'm very passionate about this whole thing. And, I've stuck through it through thick and thin over the last 3 and a bit years now since I got involved in January of 2021. I love the ripple effect calls. I think they're brilliant, but not a lot of people can always make it at the same time in the same place. I would, and I know you're such a busy man, and I get it, but I really, really think that having a video to say, look, this is what we've done so far. This is what we've achieved. This is where we're going. This is our vision. To have a video of that that's like maybe a short version, like a short 8-10 minute version, and maybe a more in-depth 30 to 40 minute version or something like that would be amazing, running through the stuff and properly edited and stuff. I think it would be really, really impactful and allow us to kind of get people in and on board again. We've got to rejig our marketing to get to a point where we can push this message out there without just relying on you.
Yeah,
we can't just go, right, we need to get people on the ripple effect and listen to Michael speak brilliantly and answer all these questions and give all these answers. I want to know, how can James Neal and James Neal's team of 5,000 people that signed up in the last few years able to spread this message and push it out there and get those people to then push it out there and spread a proper...
It's still the same kind of methodology. So for instance, this Hawaiian phone comes built with the software all built in. And we're talking a price point that's not crazy at all. I mean, this is so inexpensive. But this is decentralization. This is the future. And we're talking about a whole nother jurisdiction and country/kingdom that actually is standing back up, that can be an alternative to the craziness that's happening globally. I mean, we're talking about a country that is making laws that violates the core principles of why the country's there. You know, even here in the state of Hawaii, this last, I want to say within the last week, maybe two, they've come out and said, no weapons. You can't have a weapon. You can't have a gun. Your First Amendment right is gone. Because it's not.
I completely get it, Michael. It's just more like, how can I show that message to other people? So when I talk to them about decentralized technology, which a lot of people, in, similar mind spaces to myself, of which there are many, that they then want to know, well, okay, what's this technology giving me that other things can't? And where is it been for the last few years? What's it developed? And then where is it at now? And what's going on in the future? And that kind of roadmap and a video demonstrating that, professionally done video, would go a long way to being able to spread the message and sell these future phones. Because people aren't going to go shell out $1,000, $1,200, maybe even $2,000. And obviously, if you want more memory, it's going to cost even more, particularly on the fold-out phones, on the 820 odd phone. Without that, it's so hard to push.
Yeah,
and so therefore, I work full time. I'm also doing this in my spare time, and I'm a busy person and like to play a bit of sport, whatever. But I want to be able to go and still chat to people with all the stuff that I share on social media all the time, and go, this is what we're doing, this is what we've built so far, and this is where we're going, and it's actually happening. These are the things that we've done in Hawaii. These are the things we're doing here. This is the ultimate goal. We have to support this now because it's a use it or lose it type scenario. And I'm very passionate about it. I just don't feel like, and I love all this stuff, but I just don't feel like I've got the utensils or the tools there, or the back office, or the reliable back office to be able to then go and actually make it happen. Because at the end of the day, some people get involved because they see money signs, they see clear rewards, and they see, I've got a good audience, I can make a decent amount of money doing this, and it's a message that I want to spread, and they want to see that. Other people, they just do it off the good of their own back, but they're not gonna. You've got to incentivize these people, and we've got to make it easy. And I think I know what's needed, having spoken to people, thousands and thousands of people over the last few years. I've probably spoken to like 10,000 people about clear phones over the last few years. So wow. I just know that I have a good idea of what's needed, and I just don't know how to get that going with Clear from a production point of view to give me what I need and what I think everybody needs around the world to be able to spread this. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And a lot of it ties to really the dedication and commitment that we're working with within the Pacific, that takes the precedence to be able to give you the tools and capabilities to really make that huge splash. But hopefully you can see within the pricing and the ability to still get rewards at a lower price point and then be a part of the decentralized systems. It's really is a capability to be able to be involved, but you're spot on.
Yeah, but I was just wondering, is there any chance of maybe finding some time to be able to produce something like what I'm talking about? Do you think that's feasible or not?
Yeah. Once we're through with this Hawaiian shopping party and American shopping party, we've got 72 hours on that. We can do that. That's not a problem. So,
would you mind if I just put down a few ideas in an email and just send them over so that I could, if we could do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, always welcome to, James. Happy.
Okay, all right, thank you. So sorry for taking up so much time on that, but
You're all good, bud. No, I know it's been a long time since you wanted to do that. And thank you for being so persistent and just pushing. Any other thoughts or comments? Charles, you said you've got a board meeting you got to bounce to. Are you able to wrap us up, or is it something that you've already jumped to? Looks like he's already bounced.
I can do your prayer now if you like.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. We'll go ahead and wrap up.
Okay. So this is also called Oli Mahalo. Uhola ia ka makaloala. Ua ike aloha. Kuka ia ka haloala. Avehiri mai na lehua. Mai ka ho'okui. Ka halalaila. Mahalo e nā akua. Mahalo e nā ka hunala e au. Mahalo me ke aloha. Mahalo me ke aloha. And that is a thank you chant for all the manao and all the knowledge brought forth today. And with that, I will send a description of what that prayer was. But I gotta go. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you, everybody. Much love. Kia ora, Billy.
thanks everyone.
Bye.